Hey guys, before I show any clips, I must issue an epilepsy warning, or if you're having a bad migraine, also don't watch this because you're probably not gonna like this. And another warning is that if you decide to play this game, your game will crash. It will crash, like it's a guaranteed. And the last warning is that I'm not entirely sure if I actually am able to. Well, I am reaching over 70 attacks per second once I boost my souls, but the game may still be limited at 30 attacks per second. It's a bit weird. I made a forum thread. Hopefully Mark or someone else from GG can answer it and clarify. There are some cases where you can bypass 30 attacks per second, but I think I have been slightly maybe spreading misinformation about how it works unknowingly. But just know that there may be cases where you can bypass 30 attacks per second limit. And I'm not sure if the Barrage support allows to bypass that, because Multistrike allows to bypass that, and also challenge skills allows to bypass 30 attacks per second limit. So I don't know why or how, but in theory this build is mostly a meme. I would not recommend playing this build. It's also gonna probably try to fry your GPU, which is pretty bad these days. If I'm wasting attack speed with the Quill Rain, you can replace a bow into a high damage high flat damage bob with decent attack speed, and you will have more damage. I'm gonna show a bunch of clips. In the past I did quite an interesting variety of Galvanic Arrow builds. I did Galvanic Arrow with the over 100 hits per second Quill Rain, Dorian's prototype, basically minus lightning res. I did Poison Galvanic Arrow with very long poison duration, but I think that has been changed or nerfed in some way because of Assassin. Then I did Galvanic Fever, applying Galvanic Fever with the Galvanic Arrow, which sounds cool as well. And that was very successful build. Unfortunately, it also got nerfed, and the Galvanic Fever, after the changes, costed so much life I could not even activate it at 6 link, hardly even at 5 link. So that also kind of has been nerfed. Also, I did a couple Soul Eater builds and made a couple videos about how skills look like with mega attack speed and cast speed, and my Soul Eater arc build I think was very fun, at least for me, and very successful. Very good clear speed and single target as well. And you also may remember long ago I made what happens when you get minus 100% rarity video. That was like a meme video, and I said,
just look at the attack speed, it must be a good build.
Following that logic, this is the best build ever, because just look at the attack speed, it must be a good build. So there are some interesting clips to show. Maybe I'm gonna show the clips at the very end after I finish talking, but I don't want to overcomplicate this, and you can watch my other videos to know how the Soul Eater works. But basically using Soulthirst belt with very long duration flask, because it allows you to get Soul Eater during flask effect, and essentially you just extend your flask duration as much as possible and self-curse yourself with Temporal Chain. There is one change. Previously I was using Rotblood Promise Ring, and when you socket Temporal Chain inside it, you basically cast a Blasphemy with Temp Chain, but it also counts as an aura, and that was very good for Supreme Ego. Supreme Ego got changed, and that's the big change, and it kind of screws up the build. Supreme Ego basically gave a lot of effect for the Temporal Chain, meaning that you could cap your Temporal Chain effect at 75%. Things expire slower at 75% very easily. But now the Supreme Ego is basically gone for this build. It's useless. Now it says aura skills have 1% aura effect per 2% of mana of maximum mana they reserve. And Temporal Chain reserves no mana because I'm using Solstice Vigil, which is also kind of a must because it also gives effects expire 20% slower, which is a big deal if you ever played with the Soul Eater or self-curse Temp Chain. You know that it's a big deal. Getting 20% stuff expire slower is massive. So you don't want to replace the amulet, and Supreme Ego becomes basically useless. You can still use Supreme Ego, but for other auras, but I don't think that it's worth it. I'm not gonna try to calculate the math. I know that I don't have the cap on Temporal Chain despite the new implicit, which you can, like normally you would get Temporal Chain helmet enchantment, but now you can also add new implicit from Exile influence, which I believe rolls to 27%. I just don't have the highest rolls. So you can get up to 57% Temporal Chain effect just from the helmet. So because I'm cursing with self-cursing with Temporal Chain. I actually tried Shackles of the Wretched, and then I actually started making a build after testing it, and then later on realized that, wait, the Temporal Chain inside these only lasts for 4 seconds, and that's not good. So I had to scrap that. Also, I have to use Kaom's rules, because then you can't counter that slow from Temp Chain, and you can still go fast. It doesn't prevent you from being affected by Temporal Chain, it's just your action speed is not affected. Kaom's rules basically gives you unwavering stance, which means you cannot evade attacks, so you have to also convert all the evasion into armor. So this build is actually decently tanky. With that many hits per second, if you were to believe that I'm actually hitting like 1000 times per second because of, 70 attacks per second and stuff like that, I would be gaining, what, I'm actually getting, I don't even know how, it doesn't matter, I'm getting a couple thousand life per second back if I'm attacking constantly at that speed. Now, I also tried a couple other skills. I tried them in the past, but this is like a more proper build to try it on. I tried Storm Rain. Storm Rain feels exactly like Toxic Rain. It just, it actually hits and it's not an actually dot scaling. And it also doesn't lag as much. The Galvanic Arrow is probably the laggiest skill. So I tried Storm Rain. Explosive Arrow feels amazing, but there's still annoying delay. But Explosive Arrow can be insane damage, but I was not swapping to Barrage support for single target, so single target not well great. Also tried Rain of Arrows. It's what you expect, a lot of rains. Lightning Arrow just felt bad. It looked cool, but felt bad. I think I tried a couple other things. Now you can use this for like tier 16 farming. I did not really try to juice up maps extremely. I just did Breach and it was very easy to reach 70 attacks per second. I also did, one of the interesting things, I'm using Inspired Landing, and when I did one of the safe house from Syndicate, it spawns a lot of rats and a lot of rare rats, and somehow I got over 60 Inspired Landing stacks, and then the game crashed, obviously. Cannot have too much fun. Like I said, you can also farm tier 16 maps like Minotaur, Phoenix. I did only try Phoenix because I know that this is not really suited for that. It needs a bit more improvements if you want to use this, but I don't want to risk my graphics card basically. Doing these kind of bosses, you kind of need to time it correctly. You need to get souls and then figure out how fast you can get to the boss, how far it is to the boss, and then you either need to rush for the boss, kind of slow down and wait for Soul Eater to expire to refresh it. By the way, I'm also using Val Breach to spawn a bunch of monsters which don't grant any XP or loot, it just grants souls. And basically finish the boss after refreshing Soul Eater, or just rush for the boss and then come back, clean out the monsters after the boss fight. Now, the Phoenix fight was kind of funny. I went in, I did not expect to find essence and more monsters. Did not expect to be that much blinded. I could not see anything. And I just decided, you know what, I'll just gonna stand, tank, and whatever happens, happens. And yeah, I died, obviously, one-shotted. But if you don't get one-shotted, you can pretty much survive anything. Except, like, maybe very strong degens. But Mirage Archer does not grant you mana and life on hit. Just like it doesn't... Hextouch or anything else. Wait, does it Hextouch? It may Hextouch. No, wait, it doesn't. It does not Hextouch. So Mirage Archer is just an extra FPS killer, basically. But for mapping, it's very nice. You proc the Mirage Archer, then you click the phase run, and then blast through enemies, and then it just sprays like almost like a broom. You just brooming enemies, and they die. It's really hard to tell if my DPS, well, tooltip my DPS kept going above 30 and kept going and attack speed. There were some weird running thing happening once you got a lot of attack speed. Your attack speed doesn't update every enemy, it just updates every like 10 or 20 enemies or 30 enemies. It's hard to tell if the damage is actually going like actual DPS in practice is going higher above 30 attacks per second or not. But like obviously this is a meme. If you don't want to do this but you still kind of want to do this, use a different bow like Solarine bow, which has fire implicit, flat fire damage, and then craft something like that, but with a lot more attack speed. However, Quill Rain is also giving you, so mana could be a massive problem. And I tried using life tap and was very scary. Once you get 30 attacks per second, you click once, your life just disappears completely. So turns out I'm able to sustain my mana as long as I'm always hitting. I'm able to sustain mana with just Quill Rain because it has +2 mana on hit. And I also have one node which also adds 4 life and 2 mana on hit. I also picked up the Quiver with more life on hit because I wanted extra survivability. You definitely want extra life on hit. If you don't know, Galvanic Arrow is a bit weird with the Barrage. Well, it's not weird, it's actually cool with the Barrage support. That's why I like it so much. So normally when you use Galvanic Arrow, it does this, right? It shoots multiple projectiles which are very fast, so it's hard to see, and it also produces the cone. Now when you add Barrage support gem, each arrow also duplicates the cone. Not really duplicates, but also produces its own cone. So if you're shooting normally, let's say 6 arrows, you would shoot just 6 arrows and then 1 cone. But if you add Barrage support and then you shoot 6 arrows, it's gonna be 1 arrow, 1 cone, 2 arrows, well, another cone, 3rd arrow, another cone, 4th arrow, another cone, 5th arrow, another cone, so and keeps going like that. But the Barrage support gem also increases your attack time. So essentially, you don't want too many arrows because it's gonna lock you in place for too long. Well, not when you get massive speed, but having too many arrows will also slow you down, essentially. That's why Barrage support gem for Galvanic Arrow is amazing. And I'm actually shooting 7 arrows, which means 14 hits per attack. So if you multiply that 14 hits per attack and then multiply like by, let's say, 70 attacks, I would not be surprised if juiced up map you could reach over 100 attacks per second, which would be just insane, like maybe even reach over 2000 hits per second, if that's possible. But then again, I'm not sure if that's possible or not. Anyway, I think I have been rambling long enough, and I should have enough time to include all the clips that I wanted to show. Oh, one last thing, the leveling setup, I'm gonna also add. I leveled this build very quickly. This is my fastest leveling build ever, and I usually don't go for speed leveling, but this time I reached Act 9, went through the Blood Aqueducts in less than like 3.5 hours. I was AFK a bit, and I wasn't rushing right from the start, so for me that was very fast. And I did all the quests. I didn't like skip the quest to come back to them later. And I'm gonna show my leveling setup. It's nothing special. Put on Galvanic Arrow, Quill Rain, and then you want to get as much flare damage as possible on leveling items. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, I guess Flasks. The flask you basically want, Bismuth is your main flask because it has longest duration. So by the way, flasks are going to be very expensive to get if you want 5 flasks like that. And then you use the, what is it called, Enkindling? Yes, Enkindling Orb, which adds, well, it has a couple effects, but you want basically increased duration. So you craft increased duration mod on the flask and then add Enkindling Orb for increased duration again. And then Self-Core Stem Chain, then Cluster Jewels. You're gonna be able to see my build from Path of Building import code. Yeah, this isn't a serious build, so I don't want to talk about every single item that I am using. But essentially that's pretty much it. Next build is gonna be way slower, way less attack speed and less flash, but probably gonna have more explosions. So for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.